Good morning, everyone. Did you guys see the eclipse? Yes, yes, no. Well, the day here went with my brother-in-law is very interested in things like this, and it's very interesting here in our home. When something comes up, people have all different kinds of interests, and especially between my husband, my brother-in-law, and I. My sister-in-law is a little bit more reserved when it comes to, but we all have different strengths and ideas and interests when it comes to not just here in our own surroundings, but the world, our country, this that. And while I was cooking, right, while we were sitting on the porch talking about the eclipse, okay, I'll get to that. The we go and check things out. Well, everybody can go and check things out now, right? Yes, I pull most of it what I have out of my own memory, this and that, right? Already read about it. But everyone else here has a cell phone. I don't. I still have none, and I won't get one. I don't need it. I can't afford it. I don't need it. I don't want it. But I can allow myself that, okay? In the way that my life is. And so, oh, let's go and check this out. Yeah. And so he reads to me everything about, the a total, right, eclipse like that, solar eclipse. And it's interesting, right? Yes, okay. But that's what we do here. It's really interesting on how when we're together, all together, that we seem to be always teaching each other, enhancing each other's knowledge, and to talk about it. So that's very much a big thing here among us all. And so anyway, it looked like it's going to be cloudy and going. It was supposed to be a sunny day. What's going on, right? Well, other places it might have been better weather than it was here. Okay, so, and we were not. Indiana here was supposedly, and that's where my daughter with her whole family went to go and see it. Uh, Here it wasn't going to be a complete total eclipse, but pretty close. And we knew about the time too. So here I am. I got cooking. I started cooking. I had the ham bone with some ham on it left from Easter, the Easter dinner that my sister-in-law put on for us. And I thought, I have absolutely no other protein except for eggs in the house. I make some beans. So I made some soup beans from scratch, added on uh, uh, onions and chili, little this, little that, and and the ham bone, and just let that cook. Then I had some uh, red cabbage left over, which I cooked and just steamed. And I made a cornbread, a Mexican cornbread, which is And instead of water, this I used some yogurt and sour cream that needed to be used up, little bits in containers, instead of any other kind of, and it turned out moist and nobody likes dried cornbread. I don't. Some people may don't care, but I okay. I do. I'd eat any kind of cornbread if I was really hungry. Come on now, okay. But I made this just delicious cornbread, and also baked. I wasn't baking mode. We had nothing sweet in the house, or sweet, something to kind of snack on, this or that, right? Yes. And I made a with fresh coconut. Yeah. Uh, Chocolate pumpkin coconut bread turned more like into a cake, and it too is absolutely out of this world. I don't know how I do it, but I'm telling you, I told my brother-in-law, I said, sometimes I feel like I'm just a sous chef in my kitchen, and something else is moving around as the real chef and actually just telling me what to do. I have no Okay, I have no culinary degree under my belt or anything like that. It's just all right. So I was doing that. My brother-in-law went to town to take care of a couple of things and comes back and he says, "Hey, are you seeing the eclipse?" And I'm going, "What is it happening now?" And just like, man, that would have gone completely. If he would not have come home, if he would have come home 15, 20 minutes later, I'd have missed the whole thing. Uh-huh. But here he comes and he says, "It's still going on." And so we went outside and I did kind of squint and peek up and I could see it. And it was, and the interesting thing, it was all cloudy here, except for right the spot where the whole thing was happening. And it was really interesting. The One could definitely tell it was darker. The other thing that we noticed was I asked beforehand. I said, "Hey, what do you think?" I said, "What are the animals and all going to do, and the insects and birds?" And he says, "They're probably going to get really quiet." Well, in any case, so I should have gone and seen if our chickens were roosting or not, because I could not hear any of them either. So it was really quiet. There were some birds, and again, we here missed most of it. We just saw it was still a sliver. It's like a quarter. It was starting to wane again, and there was three quarters were still covered. So it was about at that time when we went out on the porch, and it was very quiet. It was very quiet. Otherwise, there was I could hear a cricket. Crickets come out when yeah, and but otherwise there was not. Whereas before, earlier in the morning, all the bees and this and that was buzzing everywhere. There was nothing. So we started reading up on that, and he says, "Oh yeah, they say this is kind of a phenomenon." I'm going, "No, it's not a phenomenon." So he reads, right? I said, "Okay, just saying. So why are they calling it mysterious and a phenomenon during when that happens? Because the animals are reacting to what? More light or less light, right? That's what's dictating their activity, their busyness, right? Uh, Supposedly, and I say, except for the cricket, the owls start hooting, and certain other night critters as kind of get, and then they came up actually with the right thing. The animals get confused on what's going on, right? And they make it through it just like they do with everything that's attached to the either light or dark. And then when everything is say back to normal after the eclipse, they resumed whatever they do in the light. Right? Either are quiet, like crickets and owls, or start getting busy again, like the insects and the birds. Are you getting my drift? Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Yes. Anyway, but in the way that the articles that he found on how, yeah, they studied that, they actually did study that, and they find it mysterious and not really a mystery. It's kind of makes sense on how within the animals they are right, really absolute 100% within the principles of creation and instinct, right? Whereas we, right? Oh, so it started to get dark. The people start to go to bed. Say, "Oh, it's nighttime. We got to go to bed. It's time to cook supper now, right?" Okay, I did. Okay. You know that we're under the principles of love. We have freedom of will, freedom to choose. Yes, interesting, isn't it? Okay. Well, anyway, I have to say that to begin with here. After we kept going around, I said, oh, and while we were out there, the one thing during the eclipse, we had a pair of ducks, mallard ducks, out on the pond, and it was a pair. And ducks too, mate for life, yes. And hadn't seen any ducks here in several years, actually. Egrets come, a lot of egrets come through here. We have Canadian geese that come through here every year, certain other things, but the ducks, them little ducks, we haven't seen. A pair haven't seen in a long time. Yes. So that was really, really special. And of course, so April 8th, 2024, yes, the solar eclipse was, but we also had a real beautiful happening here with a couple, a male and a female mallard ducks. Anyway, so uh, what else was there? There was something else. I said, oh, there's another thing to remember. Anyway, okay. I can guarantee you that about 6 months from now, I said, hey, when was that solar eclipse? Most people say, oh, can't remember. All right. So let's get going here. People are interesting. Oh, and there was I saw from 2014, I did not know that there were championships for speeches, and a guy won, and I listened to someone had shared it somewhere, and listened to it, and had to say, yeah, there's something about you, I just don't know what it is. It was great. I didn't hear any of the other speeches, but this one was great. It was really great. Okay, so we are in the second book of Chronicles 12. But just when Rehoboam was at the height of his popularity and power, he abandoned the Lord, and the people followed him in this sin. Hmm. What happened? Why? Why did he do that? It'd be nice to know why he suddenly. As a result, King Shishak of Egypt attacked Jerusalem in the 5th year of King Rehoboam's reign. That was the result of it. Also, well, had to talk about the solar eclipse and the animals, right? I wonder how much. All right. With 1,200 chariots, 60,000 cavalrymen, and an unnumbered host of infantrymen, Egyptians, Libyans, Sukkiim, and Ethiopians. Wow, they all banded together against Jerusalem. I wonder what that King Rehoboam actually ever did right then. Sounds like he's made enemies all over, whereas Solomon seemed to have everybody under control. Hmm, interesting. He quickly conquered Judah's fortified cities and soon arrived at Jerusalem. The prophet Shemaiah now met with Rehoboam and the Judean leaders from every part of the nation. They had fled to Jerusalem for safety. Ah, is that why they? Okay. And told them, the Lord says, you have forsaken me, so I have forsaken you and abandoned you to Shishak. God would never do that. That's not true. Why do people want me to believe things that are not true? That's definitely written down by someone. Did Shemaiah really have that connection to God? If he did, he would have made sure that he would have taken them 10 Commandments and go to Rehoboam and say, okay, now look, we got that. Okay, get our ducks in a row here. No, no, but when something starts to happen, oh, very quickly go and tell him, say, well, God has left you. Done. He's abandoned you, and now, right? That's God. This is God. Is that really God, or is that just people? Okay. Well, I can say to Rehoboam, you done something. Just don't know what it is, but you done something. That's going to stay with me now. Well done. Then the king and the leaders of Israel confessed their sins. They exclaimed, the Lord is right in doing this to us. What, they didn't know that beforehand? They just didn't care? Or thought, hey, we'll test the Lord. Well, remember, know that one thing that David David taught Solomon used, and Solomon no doubt taught Rehoboam is, look, we got this covenant with God. Don't know if he's really there or not, but if you start to doing things that you just want to do, don't need to do, shouldn't be doing this, but you're going to do it anyway because that's just how we are, and you're found out and things start to go south, all you have to do is repent and ask for forgiveness, because we have this pact with God, this promise from God, that if we do that, he has to forgive us. Oh, okay. That's what this sounds like to me. Suddenly now, we didn't care before. We're going to care now because we're going to hold God responsible for it. Right? Are the people, are the king here? Is the king here? And the people or the elders, whoever is involved in all the something rather that didn't go right, now they're being attacked. Are they taking any responsibility? Doesn't sound like it. And when the Lord saw them humble themselves, he sent Shemaiah to tell them, because you have humbled yourselves, I will not completely destroy you. Some will escape. Oh. I will not use, and again, some will escape. Of course, some will always escape, right? Yes? But here, man, you know what? In the way that scheming and crafty, people are scheming, crafty, when it comes to all this, to still find, okay, we've got to keep a kernel of truth in here somewhere. Otherwise, we're going to be completely not credible at all anymore. So they're coming up with all this kind of stuff. Are you getting this? I'm getting it. It's so sad. Of course, some will escape. Some will escape. Why wouldn't God just say, okay, we're going to halt it all. Everybody will survive because you did. But here, this is a natural outcome. If you're in a conflict with someone else at that magnitude, a lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to die. Will some escape? Naturally. Okay. Yeah. I will not use Shishak to pour out my anger upon Jerusalem. God would never use anyone to pour his anger upon anyone else. But you must pay annual tribute to him. So then you will realize how much better it is to serve me than to serve him. So somebody again found a way to say, if we're going to say it like this, we're going to have to make a deal with Shishak. And that's what Rehoboam did, make a deal with the king of Egypt and pay him tribute. Whereas before it was the other way around, where, right, all these places outside of Israel paid tribute to whom, and now it's the other way around, because now they're the weaker ones somehow, whatever. And again, okay, how are we going to explain that to the people? Well, we're going to pull God into it again, right? And we're going to tell them, well, we have to go through this indemnity period, because then we're going to start to realize, right, that being under the guidance of God is a heck of a lot better than under whose. Really? Why don't they just do that right from the beginning? What is that deal here? A flip-floppy stuff going on. And then, okay. So King Shishak of Egypt conquered Jerusalem, took away all the treasures of the temple and of the palace, also all of Solomon's gold shields. King Rehoboam replaced them with bronze shields and committed them to the care of the captain of his bodyguard. Whenever the king went to the temple, the guards would carry them, and afterwards return them to the armory. I have no idea what for, but okay. When the king humbled himself, the Lord's anger was turned aside, and he didn't send total destruction. Oh, Father, did you have mercy on them? Had nothing to do with any of that. Yes, I know. In fact, even after Shishak's invasion, the economy of Judah remained strong. King Rehoboam reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city God had chosen as his residence after considering all the other cities of Israel. I don't think God had a whole lot of choice. He had become king at the age of 41, and his mother's name was Naamah the Ammonitess. But he was an evil king. That's not what he said to begin here. It's not what it said to begin here. Now he suddenly is an evil king. Whatever. The son of Solomon, the wise one, and the son of his is depicted as an evil king. Seriously? For he never did decide really to please the Lord. That's not what it said over here. I'm not going to go back and read all this. This is such nonsense. Probably did not please the Lord. He didn't care. He did not care. He did not believe and he didn't care. The complete biography of Rehoboam is recorded in the histories written by Shemaiah the prophet and by Iddo the seer, and in the genealogical register. The genealogical register. Whoa. Is this the Annals of the Kings? Is this something else again? I'm reading out of the Living Bible, so they have just, as I said, why can't they just have terms? All be consistent with the terms. This is just. There were continual wars between Rehoboam and Jeroboam. Well, of course. When Rehoboam died, he was buried in Jerusalem, and his son Abijah became the new king. All right? As I said, we're rereading a whole lot of stuff. We're getting to know a little bit more. And it is what it is. Done. But what are we learning from all this? Number one, don't abuse the word of God. That's the main thing to me, right? Yes? And the one most beautiful thing yesterday, with a post that a friend of mine shared, was on how to look at an eclipse as this beautiful gift from God, and how amazingly everything works together, and how the Creator is out there, and the tribute goes to whom? God, of course. Yes? Okay. That was the most beautiful thing. And on how, again, people in power. People in power. I'm in power here too. Who does not have some power? But how is it being used? Yes? Especially when it comes to society, right? One last thing. Yes, the speech about the sky was great. 2014, just put in YouTube. It's on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name because it's a really complicated name. 2014 could be championship of speeches, and he won that. Okay, and I'm sure it'll come up. Wonderful. It's only about 7.5 minutes, and it's entertaining. It's interesting. It's got lots of wisdom in it, and I really liked it. Yeah. And the main thing that would come up was I think was this one. There's something within you. I just don't know what it is. But it's always good. It always comes out really good. Okay, you guys got to listen to it yourself. Worth listening to. And the other thing that I wanted to just talk about now slipped, but something else is in my mind, so I'll bring that up real quick. I know that I talk a lot about kind of love your enemies. Right? You got to learn to love your enemies. You got to be able to forgive your enemies. Right? Yeah, but truly, not just in words. Right? As we just read, these are just words. Are they really? Is God in any of it? Or is it just people turning things around in a way that then, right? Okay, just saying. But does God really have anything at all to do with that? And It's easy to talk about love and peace and I don't know what when you live in a country that I live in. Grew up in a country I grew up in, okay, which isn't this one. Gone traveling to countries where, yeah, it is the same. It's much different around the world for common people when your leaders just don't know how to make peace. When your leaders deny you God and you have to what? Do things underground. When people out there are out to hurt others, especially children, or anyone for that matter. But when it's children, I feel this is just absolutely horrific. And there's so many ways to do that, isn't it? To hurt children, to hurt women, to hurt men. For no other reason except for one can. So that needs to be taken care of. Huh? People who do that, they need to be taken out of circulation. Yet, then we become wishy-washy as well. Right? Yeah, should they, if they get caught, brought to justice, 100%, but one should never kill them. Um, if we're not clear on what our life's supposed to be like here, according to God's will, then we become just like this passage in the second book of Chronicles 12. We'll pull God into our life when we want to, when it's convenient. And other times, where God's being left out. When we want to avenge, even defense, often is not something that will end well. Here's the thing. So, well, then I guess good people on the side of goodness who will follow 100% the Ten Commandments are going to draw the shorter stick. And you're going to have to let people abuse you. Well, what you're going to do? Nobody will let anyone. It's whoever's the stronger one, right? Often physically, well, psychologically, people can really manipulate you as well. I guess, what are you going to do? A child that gets kidnapped and then just abused in the worst ways. What is that child going to do? Well, so many people around the world don't want to acknowledge the sexual abuse that's going on out there. Because so many people are right in your family doing that. And then you're just trying to what? Do what? Cover it up. Well, it comes out so much later often. Okay. So what does one do if one is a victim of stuff like that? Or anything, any abuse, bullies around you. What are you going to do? Well, if we truly want to follow God's guidance and all that, and Jesus' guidance, we are going to turn our cheeks again and again and again and again. And I'll tell you why it will be worth it in the end. And not anyone suffering out there is not in vain, is not just no one cares. God doesn't care about me. This is not just about that. First of all, God will never take freedom of will from anyone. So any abuser out there, yes, God can't do a thing about that. Unless he wants to infringe on all of our wills. Yes? Then what sudden creation have we become? Oh, the animals who follow what? Just instinct. Yes? That God, the Son, God put in place. Yeah? But here's the thing. Anyone out there that has ever suffered under abusers like that, of any kind, that is still here, is building a palace in heaven. People may tell you, well, you can't get to heaven if you don't this or that. I tell you what, if you carry your pain gracefully, even when you don't know, how does a child know how to do that when it's being abused? What do children look like often when they're getting abused, after they've been abused? This, now, we have enough pictures out there, now. They have to take the bruises, don't they? They cower in a corner, huh? So scared out of their wits, just waiting to get through one more hell. Often because of their own parents, but not just. What we don't know is that their place in heaven is already fixed. It's already there. And it's more beautiful than any of us who live our wonderful lives here. This, don't get me wrong, and think we've got it all made once we go to spirit world, this, that, yes. Yeah. We will have nothing like that. We'll be doing well too, but we'll have nothing like what God has waiting, with open arms, with an open heart, with so much love for the ones who have to suffer here on earth like that because of others. Just saying. Anywho. Consolation prize. Right? And yet, I know, how unfair is it that good people have to carry all them bruises? Yes? Most likely, the abusers out there of whatever, of any kind, this and that, at one point, maybe carried bruises as well. Yes. Ah, you see what's happening here? Throw the first stone if you think you're without sin as well. Anywho. Wow, where'd I go with that? Dryland fish hunting today. Oh, I gotta go to town today too. Oh, so what do I do? Can I do both? I have to think about it. Yes. Maybe I won't go to town. No, I have to. Gotta go get feed. Isn't that wonderful? Just go to town, get some feed. Everything's well again. Yeah. One thing we can do for everyone around the world, if we can't do a whole lot else to stop certain things, is pray. Just pray. Pray. Pray your heart out, not for yourself, for everybody out there. Yes? God's love and blessings always. May He protect you, and I will talk to y'all another time.